Thank you all so much for joining us today. I'm Kat, I'm the CMO here at Employment Hero, and we're really lucky today to be joined by Sarah, who's one of our senior product experts here at Employment Hero, and she's going to run you through everything that the Employment Hero platform has to offer.
Thanks, Kat. Looking forward to getting started. Why don't I just get my screen up and running? So you should all be able to see my Employment Hero dashboard now. What I'm going to run through today is, first off, we want to take a look at the employee onboarding experience. So that's a huge area within Employment Hero that our customers love, that they can take the onboarding paperless. So we'll take a look at the paperless onboard from the employer's point of view and then from the employee's point of view. And then we can take a look at the employee profile and what we can do from there. After that, we'll take a look at some self-service for employees. So specifically, I want to show you a leave request and leave management. And then I also want to run through performance reviews and how we can set those up in the system. And then we'll take a look at some of the reporting. After I've run through the demonstration, I want to run through how you can set up your own Employment Hero account. And for anyone who wants to sign up new, we've got an offer, but I'll run through that after we've looked at the demonstration. If you'd like to, you can post your questions through and we'll be answering some questions at the end. So we'll leave about 10 or 15 minutes for questions at the end. So right now I'm logged into Employment Hero as an administrator. So as an administrator, you'll be able to see all of your employee profiles and also manage all of your settings from the account. Now, before you start onboarding new employees, you probably want to set up a few areas before your users log in for the first time. So a few things you might want to set up under your files. You can upload all of your own policies and induction content. Employment Hero also comes with some templates. So we have about 30 or 40 odd templates, including policies, contracts, and HR letters that come with the system. And our legal team keep those up to date. So I guess I should have run through a bit of a background on Employment Hero. We're actually founded by an employment lawyer, Ben Thompson. So the main reason for us building Employment Hero was for small businesses or small to medium-sized businesses to keep compliant. So what we'll see throughout here is updated templates. We've got award interpretation as part of our payroll solution. We've also got an area where you can track visas and qualifications. So we really want to help you keep compliant within your business. What we'll also see is a lot of efficiency. So Employment Hero also tries to make it simple and easy for you to manage employees. So how can we reward you by giving you a bit of time back in your day without doing the admin manually? And how do we reward your employees by making their self-service easy and making their employment easy? What we will also, if we have some time, we'll take a look at some of the engagement pieces on Employment Hero as well. So as we go through, you might see things like company feeds and survey tools to help keep your employees engaged, and to share things and to give them things like discounts and benefits through the platform as well. So that's an area that we're really working on at the moment. So we've launched a few exciting things like recognition over the past few weeks, but there's some really exciting new releases coming soon as well. So let's get back into the employee onboarding. So what you want to do is set up your policies and induction, and you can also go into your settings and set up certifications. So think about when your employees come on board, what they need to provide you outside of the normal forms. So they might need to give you a driver's license or a first aid certificate, a working with children check, a forklift license. It really depends what industry you're in, but you can easily set those up to be part of the employees on board. You can customize which teams need to upload which documents. I won't go through the exact setup today, but what I want to go through is what that looks like when an employee logs in for the first time. So when we onboard a new employee, we'd hit an add button from our dashboard. You as an administrator will have access to that. However, if you do want managers to be able to add new users as well, you can give them that functionality. So you can have different levels of access within the system. If you're using our partner program job adder, you can also create an integration. But if you're not, it's not a big deal. What you can do is you can just put in the employee's personal email and their name to start with to get them on board and fill out a couple of these details which should only take us a few minutes. So their employment type, whether they're full-time, part-time, or casual, their start date, their job title, probation, and their manager. Now, when it comes to the employee's probation, that'll be tracked. So their primary manager will receive a notification when that's coming up. And there's also notifications around birthdays and anniversaries, so you can make sure that those key dates aren't missed. The employee's primary manager will also be able to see their basic non-payroll details. So think about next of kin details or contact details or management notes within their profile. This employee's manager will see that and will also act as their approving manager. So for instance, if you're using the leave module within Employment Hero, an employee's leave request will go directly to their primary manager for approval. You can also have a secondary manager. Now, the secondary manager can still see all the information, but they just won't be that primary approver. They can, however, go in and override, so they can approve on behalf of the primary manager if they need to. What we can then do is group these employees into locations and teams. So if you have multiple physical locations, you can select the one that they're primarily working at and the team or teams that they belong to. What this means is it'll customize the employees on board. They'll see different policies, induction content, and even qualifications based on their location and their team. The last step here is the employee's pay rate. Now, there are two ways that we can set up an employee's pay details. The first is going to be just manually setting a rate, where we can just go in and put in a value and how that's going to be paid. The second way actually comes with Employment Hero's payroll platform. So if you're integrated with Hero Pay, you'll be able to load up the modern award. We've got about 50 odd awards preloaded within the system. You can select the award from the drop down and it will automatically give you the employee's pay rate based on the modern award level that you've chosen. So that only comes with Hero Pay. So if you're not using Hero Pay, it's not a problem. You can still integrate this system with Xero or MYOB or QuickBooks Online. All you'll need to do is just manually put in that rate. You then have some more payroll specific fields here. So if you have cost centers on your payroll system or specific schedules that you want to link to, you can. And then we'd synchronize with payroll. Now, this synchronize with payroll is really, really important. We highly recommend that you use an integrated solution, which means that you only ever need to set the employee up once. Once we've set them up on Employment Hero and they've filled out all of their onboarding forms, they'll automatically be created on your integrated payroll system. So Employment Hero integrates with Xero, QuickBooks Online, KeyPay, MYOB Account Right Live, and our own Hero Pay solution. So don't worry if you're not using a system that integrates, you can always look at Hero Pay to get the two seamlessly integrating together. From here, we want to issue the employee with a contract. So the contract from here is going to autofill all of the fields we've already entered in. The system comes with these 5 contract templates. So you can use these if you don't have your own contracts at the moment, but you can also build in your own contract templates. I'm going to choose one of Employment Heroes today. And what we'll see here is the information I've filled out for this employee will come into the contract automatically. So you can set up where you want their name to go, their position, their salary, their manager, etc. You can have editable areas that come up in blue, or you can also have optional clauses that you can delete if you don't need. You can also preset your company logo and that'll appear on all the documents in the system. Once I've gone through this contract and I'm happy to send it out to the employee, I'll proceed to signing it off and then emailing it out to the new starter. So if I scroll to the bottom of this contract, it'll have a signature. So all of the e-signatures are built in. And as a manager, I've preloaded my signature so I don't need to sign it each time. So you can use your mouse or your finger on a touch screen if you're using a touchscreen device, or you can just save that as it is and email it out to the employee. I can send this email like this, or I can even edit this text of the email. That's up to you. But that is done. So from your point of view as an administrator or as an employer, you're done onboarding the new employee. They're now going to log in, they're going to sign their contract, they're going to fill out all of the forms you need online, run through their induction, run through their policies, and also synchronize with payroll. So they'll be ready to get paid on their first day. And they can do all of this before their first day. Why don't we take a quick look at what this looks like from the employee's end? So it's also really important that this part for the employee is simple for them to log in and really user-friendly so they know exactly what to do when they log in for the first time. They'll receive that email, and then down the bottom they'll have a link to log in. So they need to create their password. They can do this from anywhere at any time on any device. And the first thing they'll see here is their contract for the first time. So they'll scroll to the bottom, hopefully have a really good read of that contract, and they'll see an area to sign their signature. They need to check the box, and then down the bottom here, when I sign, I'm just using my mouse. They can also upload an image of their signature. And the most important part here is the audit trail. So to make sure that this signature is legally binding, we've got the date, time, and IP address of each signature. When they sign and accept, that saves straight to their employee profile. So you can download that, or you can just review it if you want to. They'll be presented with these forms that are inbuilt into Employment Hero. These forms are built around Australian compliance. So you'll see things like your tax file declaration and your super choice form all built in. So I'll go through a couple of these just to show you what it looks like. So we've got their date of birth, their address, their emergency contact details, and their bank details. Now, there are a few areas that will pick up whether they've put in invalid numbers. So for instance, if they don't put in 6 digits for their BSB, it'll give them an error. Same goes with their tax file declaration. So if they put in an invalid tax file number, it won't let them proceed. Same as if they choose not to be a resident, but they're trying to claim the tax-free threshold. There are some links to the ATO if they're not sure on certain questions. However, once the employee has completed this tax file declaration, you as an administrator can lodge it straight to the ATO from Employment Hero. If you have employees that are not a citizen or permanent resident, they can also input their passport and visa details. So there's an inbuilt Vivo check within Employment Hero. So it'll allow you to validate that visa and track the expiry date to make sure it hasn't expired or it's renewed. If they are, they can move on though to the next step, which will be their super choice form. You can set up your default fund on here. Most employees would come in with their own fund anyway, so they can choose their own fund. If they have a regulated fund, they can actually search the fund on here, which makes it really simple for them to onboard. So for instance, if I'm with Australian Super and I fill out the ABN and the SPIN, I need to find that, it will autofill it into the system. All I need as an employee will be the member number. They also have the option for a self-managed fund if they've got one of those. Right, the next step here will be a medical disclosure statement. This is optional as part of the onboard. You can turn this on or off if you want the employee to complete it. However, it's really good to be able to have the employee list out anything pre-existing like an allergy or an illness so that you can have this recorded on their profile for anything that comes up. So they can add in as many of these as they like, or they can just move on if they don't have anything to disclose. Their last step here will be any certifications. So you can create this list and you can customize what you want to collect from them. So it might be a check, a training qualification, or a license. What they'll be able to do here is once they go in and edit, they can put in things like an expiry date for a license and upload a supporting document. If they're doing this on their smartphone, they can also upload an image. So they can just take a photo of the license and upload it for you. If you require a manager to approve this, you can also have an approval workflow so that the manager can check that the information entered by the employee is correct. Now, once the employee finishes this process, they'll be able to go into this area called Files and take a look at their policies and induction. You can choose which documents within these areas are mandatory to be acknowledged. So at the moment, I've chosen all of these to be mandatory. And if they click on each one, they'll again see your logo on the document and they'll have a checkbox down the bottom to acknowledge. So they can go through each policy one by one and acknowledge. and they can do all of this reading before their first day. So now if I go back into my policies area, I can see that I've acknowledged 2 and I've got the date and time of each one, and I have 4 to go. As an employer, every time you update these documents, it'll push out a notification to all employees via email that they need to log in and re-acknowledge the document because it's changed. You'll be able to run some reports on this as well, and we'll look at that in a moment when we switch over to the admins portal. But you can also host induction on here. An induction can be anything from a document to a video, and also the NES and the Fair Work Information Statement will come pre-built into Employment Hero and updated by our team. The employee can now navigate away into their dashboard. So their dashboard will look similar to the admin's dashboard, but they'll see their own detail. We'll see a little pop-up here about Hero Shop, and I'll show you this in a moment. But they'll see their onboarding status, so they can see where they're at and they can continue where they left off. Bear in mind, they're going to get notifications if they haven't completed their onboard, and their pay might be delayed if they haven't given you these details. They can also access the company feed. So the company feed can be used for notifications that you want to send, like announcements. It can also be used for employees to thank a hero. So this is a tool that you can start using for recognition. So if somebody publicly recognizes a hero, it'll appear on the company feed. It'll also appear on their mobile app. So most of this functionality is available on an iOS and Android app, and those heroes will be notified, and you can run a report on that information as well. That little pop-up that came up before about Hero Shop will actually give employees access to a portal called My Life. And this is something a little different that Employment Heroes decided to do purely because we want to help small businesses be able to recognize employees and provide employee benefits and compete with the larger businesses. So for instance, if you want to offer your staff discounts and benefits, you might not have the buying power to go out and negotiate these discounts, but Employment Hero does. So you can use this as a tool to attract employees, retain and engage employees, and help make their salary go a little bit further. So think about things like discounted movie tickets, discounted vouchers like Woolworths and Coles, things that employees are spending their money on every day, they can access through Hero Shop. So it's a nice little tool. There are a few areas in here where there's some more education for employees, but just conscious of time, we can take a look at those another day. Once the employee's logged in, they now have access to this whole sidebar of self-service. It's up to you what you want the employee to see on this sidebar. So you can switch things off if you don't want to use them, or if they're not required. So for instance, if you have predominantly salaried employees, you might not need the timesheets function. I'm going to switch over into the admins portal just to show you a couple more of these features. So for instance, leave management. So when an employee goes to request leave, they'll be able to see this really simple form, which is similar on the mobile app as well. They'll be able to see their leave balance. Now this balance will pull across from your payroll system. You can choose which balances you want the employee to see. They'll choose the category, so it's up to you what categories you have on that list. The dates that they're taking off. Let's go over Easter because it seems like everyone's taking that time off. They can add comments and attach documents. If you're using HeroPay's payroll system, so our own payroll, employees will also see a projected leave. That only comes with HeroPay's payroll though. If I scroll down here, I can also see that the system's automatically turned public holidays to 0, and it will default the employees' work hours into here. So for instance, if they work Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday only, those will come up only. They can also change these hours. So if they want to take a half day, they can change the hours and they can submit the leave from there. From there, won't actually let them submit leave if they've already got a leave request. So it's not letting me do that, but a manager will receive a notification once they have submitted, and they'll be redirected to this leave management area. As a manager, they'll be able to see direct and indirect employees. As an administrator, you can see all employees' leave. So if I set up a couple of these filters, I can see the leave requests here on a list, but I can also see a calendar down the bottom of who's going to be on leave at what time. So if you want to make sure you don't have too many people off at once, you can see that. You can see whether they're pending or approved. Once they're approved, they'll sync automatically across into the payroll system. So you can see this, this timestamp is turned green and the sync has been successful as soon as it's been approved. So that happens within seconds. So when you do go to process your pay, you don't need to do any data entry around that. One other area you can use within the system is Employment Hero's reviews module. This is an area where your managers and employees can have one-on-ones and they can note down any feedback. It's a really easy way to get this kind of conversation documented without it being too much of a cumbersome process. So I'm going into this, this review as looking at this as a manager. So I can see all of the employees that fall under me that I'm reviewing. I can see the team that they belong to, the employee status and rating, and the manager status and rating. So I can see that some of my employees haven't started. I only have one that's completed this, and I'm in progress to getting these done as well. So if I jump into Maria's review here, this is an example that I've set up in the system where I've set 5 questions and an overall rating. It's up to you how many questions you have and what each question or section says, so you can customize all of this. You can also have multiple tabs that go across the top of your review. So if you have multiple sections or components, you can split them out. If I open up question 1, I can see I have the employee's response down the bottom and the manager's response up the top. These rating scales here are optional. However, if you choose to use rating scales, you can have up to 10 stars and you can define what each star means. You can also have different rating scales for different questions, or you can have questions that don't have any rating scales at all. So that's up to you how you set that up. But then you'll be able to, once this is completed, report on each employee's overall rating and their manager's rating of them. So you can export a lot of this data into Excel. All right, you can also print this out if you want to, or save it. That's the reports module. One other module I do want to show you is, the reports module. That one was the reviews module. So the reports module here comes with a whole bunch of preset reports for you to run. And you can also export a lot of these via Excel. So for instance, I think our compliance report is probably one that's quite relevant based on what we've looked at today. From our compliance report, we can see a dashboard here of what policies have been acknowledged and what's overdue. We can also see our certifications or qualifications, what's outstanding, in review, or expired. We can see our work eligibility on the right-hand side here, HR documents, and also our tax file declarations and what's been lodged and what hasn't been lodged. All of these pie graphs can actually be drilled down into. So if I want to see here what's overdue for policies and induction content, I can click on the piece of the pie and it will drill down the information for me. What I can also do is I can now filter even further by specific document or by specific employee. And we can download this into CSV as well. Some other reports we can run from here. You can see we've got an engagement report. So we'll be able to see, we can collect feedback from employees about how happy they are at work, and it'll graph that, and it's all anonymous feedback. Recognition will show us all the Thanker Heroes that come through on that company feed. Headcount reports will show us some trends in headcount over time. So we can see here drill down between full-time, part-timers, and casuals. Same as termination. So when we terminate an employee, it'll come up on this report and we can report on the reason for termination. And all of these reports can be drilled down into as well. So there's quite a bit of data you can export from the system. Most of these reports here come as part of Employment Hero's standard package. There are a few differences between Employment Hero's standard and premium packages, which I'd like to go through in a bit more detail. All of our pricing is available on our website. So the subscription pricing is all there and it will show you what's included and not included in the subscription. So for instance, our standard subscription comes with most of what we saw today, but the key difference between the standard $6 per employee per month and the premium $9 per employee per month is the reviews that we looked at. And there are a few other differences. So there are some goal setting, the medical disclosure statement as part of the employee's onboarding process, You can have more customizable approval workflows. You can run bulk VIVO checks through there. And we can also do some goal setting. All right, so it's best that you have a chat with one of our product specialists to find out which solution might be best for you depending on what you're looking for. But that's the HR solution there. It's $6 per employee per month or $9 per employee per month. Normally the process from here is if you haven't signed up to Employment Hero yet, we can have an initial consultation just to find out a bit more about your needs, answer any specific questions that you might have about your industry or your business, and talk you through how we can actually set up the account and which option you want to go for. So there are a few setup options when it comes to implementing Employment Hero, and it really depends on your business, your needs, and the size of the business. We have a really exciting offer today. So any new customer that signs up to Employment Hero by Friday this week, which is Friday the 12th of April, will receive $1 off the subscription. So you're looking at your standard subscription for $5 per employee per month, or your premium subscription for $8 per employee per month. Now that's valid until the close of business on Friday this week only. So what we're going to do after today is send out an email to everyone with a link to be able to book in a consultation with one of our specialists. And given that you're new to signing up to Employment Hero, we'd hope to have that consultation this afternoon, tomorrow, or even Thursday if you'd like to, and answer any questions before we have you sign up. We might move across to any questions that have come through.
Awesome. So the first one is from Sam, and she said, if I don't have an integrated payroll system, do I have to add my employees one by one?
No, not at all. So when it comes to the setup, there are two ways. So there's either doing it via your payroll system, which will just suck all the employee data out of there. If you're not integrating with a payroll system at all, you can do a bulk employee upload. Our team can help you do that. So it's an Excel spreadsheet that you just need to fill out with your employees and a few bits of basic information. You can bulk upload them. So you don't need to onboard them one by one. But the easier way is obviously connecting to a payroll system and sucking the data out of there.
Awesome. So our next question comes from Jack, and he's asked, is there anything Employment Hero can do to help with offboarding employees?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you offboard an employee, you can do that within the platform, and that'll push a notification to your payroll to run a termination pay. It'll also remove the employee from the system as of their offboarding date. So as of that date, they'll only have access to things like pay slips and certain documents, and they'll lose all the rest of the access. One other thing you can do around offboarding is set up a checklist. So think about all the things that you need to do around an employee leaving. You might need to collect a laptop or a phone, a swipe pass, or do a survey or an exit review with the employee. So you can have an automated checklist for offboarding. One final thing is if you do need any advice around employees leaving the business, whether it be a redundancy or a termination or processing a final pay for an employee, Employment Hero can offer some advice as well. So we actually have some advisory lines. If we take a look here, we've got a HR advisory line for $5 per employee per month. And we also have a payroll advisory line for $5 per employee per month. Or if you want to take both, you can get them for $9 per employee per month. And that just means that you can actually call or email our team for any advice at any time, or obviously, it's within business hours, so 8:30 to 5:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time. But that just gives you that safety net if you do have any questions that come up around HR advice or payroll advice.
And we've got an anonymous question here. Can you set up contractors in Employment Hero, and how are they distinguished in the system from employees?
Yeah, so Employment Hero, let me just switch back into the portal here. If I open up personnel, we have two areas. We have employees and we have independent contractors. There are quite a bit of differences between the two. For instance, your contractors won't need to fill out things like superannuation forms, tax file declarations, or all of the actual employment forms that your employees need to fill out. But they will be able to sign a contract and put in contract terms and that kind of thing. Another difference is they won't actually sync with your payroll. So if you're paying them via invoice or ABN, you won't need them to sync with your payroll system. So they'll sit separately. But you can still give your independent contractors access to things like your timesheets module and your files module for policies and inductions. So they will have similar access. In terms of pricing, they'll be counted as a user. So it is per employee per month, but your contractors also count as users.
So the next question comes from Tony. He's looking for an email etiquette policy template. Do you want to talk through how our policies work and how they're uploaded into the system and how often they're reviewed?
Yeah, absolutely. So if we take a look here at our content management area, you've got your templates in here. The templates that come with Employment Hero, they're industry agnostic and they're standard across the board, but they're compliant. So if you do want to use the templates that come into with the system, you can use these. We'll review them whenever legislation changes. So if there is an update on legislation, that's when they'll be reviewed. And we have a full legal team that keep up with legislation. So anytime something's updated, we're well aware of it. If you have a specific policy that's not as part of this list, you have the option to either create your own template by adding one in. If you add one in, you can just go into here, create the document and copy and paste the text that you want to. I don't think we have that specific example that Tony mentioned, but we can look at if you'd like some one-off consultation around building a policy, we can potentially help with that as well.
Awesome. And Tony's also asked, do we have contracts with fixed term employees?
I'm fairly certain we do. No, actually, we've got, so the contracts that come with Employment Hero will be casual, full-time hourly, full-time salaried, part-time hourly, and part-time salaried. So there's specific fixed-term contracts aren't built into the system, but you can build in your own. And what you can also do is you can use this extension to fixed-term contract if you do need to extend, but that's not a specific example. Sorry, Tony, that comes with Employment Hero.
Awesome. I've got another anonymous question, which is what support is available when you're setting up Employment Hero and ongoing?
So setting up Employment Hero, there are a couple of levels of support. So it depends on the option you go for to implementing the system. We have a few different levels of implementation support and they're all priced differently and it really depends on the business. So we can run through that pricing offline just to understand a little bit more about the size of your business and the complexity of the setup. But the levels are you can get a full implementation by Employment Hero, which will implement the entire system for you. The second level down will be an assisted implementation. So what that means is you can set the system up yourself, but you'll have assistance from one of our customer success managers. So if you have questions or if you want a checklist or just a bit more additional support around that, you'll get that as part of that kind of middle ground support. You also have access to Harry. So Harry is something that we've recently launched, which is really exciting. And Harry can actually guide you through a lot of tasks and onboarding within Employment Hero. So what I mean by onboarding tasks is that if you're creating the account, Harry will go through step by step what you need to do. Once you're 100% completed, he'll let you know. So for instance, if you want to go in and add company details and you need to see, I've done my company details, but I haven't done an address. If I click on there, Harry will actually guide me. So if I hit start, Harry's going to tell me to go to general settings, and then company settings, which is pretty cool. Harry does all of this for me. And then he should show me where to go. Click on the address tab. And now here's where I need to enter in my company address. So step by step. And then save. So it's really easy. Harry can actually guide you through anything that you need to do in the system, and we're really excited about launching Harry. But if you ever need technical support, we've got a support team that's available as well via email. So support@employmenthero.com. Our support team are fantastic. They'll get back to your queries as soon as you need them. If you prefer to pick up the phone and call our support team, it's the exact same team you'll be speaking to. It's practically just skipping the queue, but we do have the ability for phone support. That's an additional charge if you do want to pick up the phone and skip the queue.
Awesome. So I've got another anonymous question here. We mentioned that letters of offer can be amended and we can set up custom templates. Are you able to amend those custom templates once you've set them up inside Employment Hero?
Yeah, absolutely. So that area that I just showed you before under content management, once you have your templates created, you can go in there and edit them, clone them, or change them as you need to. So if I look at this area called Your Templates, which will be my ones here, I've got my policies. I can either view them or I can go in and edit the actual template. If you do need to build in a specific document for a specific employee, you can really easily add, or you can clone an existing document and edit it as you need to. So if I click on edit here, it'll bring me to this area. I haven't really got much in this specific example, but you can go in and change that whenever you want to and save.
Cool. Our next question is also anonymous. How safe and secure is the personal data inside Employment Hero? So what are our security measures?
Good question. So we take security really seriously just because we're dealing with a lot of employee data. So we've got about 150,000 users on the system. So we have our data is stored and backed up on Amazon Web Services, and that's based in Australia. And we run regular tests. So we run an annual pen test to make sure that the system is secure. And for those who don't really understand that, we have a team who tries to hack the system and helps us in areas that we might need to review. And we've received green lights over the past few years from what I'm aware. And we also have a securities team. So we have a dedicated team to making sure that your data is as secure as possible. So we take all the measures we can.
Awesome. And you might have seen at the start of the demo, a little thing came up to say, Sarah, are you still logged in? That's one of our security measures, that if anyone's idle for more than a minute, it logs you out automatically, as well as being 2FA.
Yeah, two-factor authentication. That's a big one. So if I'm logging in from an unrecognized device, it's not going to let me log in until I put in a code.
Awesome. And then we've got another question from Tony. Is there an option to export employee details into an Excel?
Yes. So under your personnel, you've got an import employee. So the same way that you'd import employees into the system, you can download employees from the system. So you can bulk export the employee data if you need to. Great.
That's all the questions we've got time for today. If there are some more questions floating around out there, feel free to email us at knowledge@employmenthero.com. Sarah, thank you so much for going through this with us today, and we'll see you on another webinar.
Thanks, guys. That email will come through at around midday today. So if you want to set up a consultation call and take advantage of that $1 off by Friday, we'd love to welcome you on board.
Thanks very much, guys.